we can have an idea, and to us we could be fearful, we could be in our heads not wanting to do it, or thinking that we're not good enough and that we can't accomplish this vision. And the whole time God is like, no, bigger, bigger, more. That's no. So hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Devoted to Her. I am your host, Samantha Jade Minor, but we're all friends here, so you can call me Sam. This is probably going to be a two-part video, just because I don't want to miss anything. I want to make sure that I get everything in this episode that I need to. So I'm going to start with what Devoted to Her is. Devoted to Her is my baby, basically. Devoted to Her is a health and wellness brand that helps educate women on their health, their wellness, their physical health, their mental health, their emotional health, their spiritual health, because all these things are important to us. There are so many women in this world that have a lot of healing to do, emotional healing, because if we don't heal things emotionally, then it's going to start attacking our bodies physically. And I do believe that's what happened to me, dealing with cancer not once but twice. If you have followed me for any amount of time on the podcast, on YouTube, social media, you'll know that I was diagnosed 5 years ago with cancer. And then again 3 years ago, 21, 3 years ago. So health and wellness is something that is incredibly important to me, but I feel that there's not enough followers of Jesus that talk about health and wellness. What I've noticed a lot is everyone is talking about healing, they're talking about health, they're talking about getting better and healing our bodies, but they're leaving God out of it, which I believe is something that we absolutely cannot do, because why else did he die for us other than our sins and to heal our bodies? So that's where I come in at. That's where Devoted to Her comes in at, is talking about healing our bodies, but healing the whole person, not just part of us. Because if you've ever been sick, you've ever experienced any type of sickness, whether it be a cold on up to like cancer, heart disease, things like that, doctors are more so focused on just covering up the symptoms and not getting to the root cause. And we really do have to get to the root cause of these things. We also have to get to the deeper parts of ourselves that are hurting, so that way we're not experiencing, a physical manifestation of these emotional wounds that we have not addressed or taken care of, either through prayer, therapy. I'm a big advocate of therapy and theology. It's something I'll talk about another time in the weeks to come. But for now, I wanted to talk about what Devoted to Her is and what I've been doing for the past few months. So with Devoted to Her, I do have the website, devotedtoher.com, where I post things about, like healing recipes, juicing recipes, things like that, and other things that we can do to take care of our bodies and our homes and things like that. I also have different devotionals that I've posted on there, just things that I wrote when I really was at my darkest time in life, and just different revelations that God revealed to me during these times. So originally, Devoted to Her was, I was designing clothes and I was doing makeup for quite some time, and the company had a whole different name, and one day God was like, change it. And I didn't hesitate. I was happy to change the name, so happy to change the name. And because I felt like God was leading me somewhere, he was taking me somewhere, and I had to be obedient, but I didn't know where that obedience was leading me, what more he was going to have me do. God will reveal things to you in increments. So once you obey the first thing, and then he shows you the next step and then the next step. So he's not going to show you, like, what is the saying? God's not going to show you the whole staircase. He's going to give you one step at a time to do. And that's what he has been doing with me. So I changed my company name March of 2023, became Devoted to Her LLC. Prior to this, I knew that I wanted to do something. I can't even say that this was something that I wanted to do. It's something that God put in my heart. He wanted me to do a Health and Wellness Expo, and he gave me the different ideas and different types of people to have there to bring in and be a part of this. And I held on to it for a while, and I started telling different people, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. And I know that as much as I spoke about it, people probably thought I was procrastinating. I thought I was procrastinating. And at one point in, I think this was last summer, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. I found this place that we had my daughter's 18th birthday party at, and it's a venue within a health food store. So they have the health food store, they have a health food cafe, and then they have a venue. And it was really cute, and it was great for her birthday party. And I was like, okay, well, I feel like I could spring the money for it. It's a little small, but I think I could make it work. And this stayed on my mind for a while, but I never pulled the trigger on it. And I understood why in February of this year, why I never pulled the trigger, because there's something holding me back, and now I realized it was God. So first, let me tell you what I wanted the expo to be, then I'll tell you what happened. So the way I envisioned it, the way that God gave it to me, was I was going to have all these vendors in health and wellness. To be honest, I wanted it to be all women business owners. And I wanted women that owned spas, women that nurses, doctors, therapists, like all of that. That's what I wanted. I wanted them there in one area so women could come into one spot and have the resources that they needed right there in one spot. And I wanted guest speakers. And I knew immediately when I interviewed Letitia Anderson back in January on the podcast. If you go back in January, you'll find the amazing interview that I did with her. She has a phenomenal testimony. I knew that I wanted her to be the keynote speaker. And I even told her. And the interesting thing is, in January, when I spoke to her, I told her, I said, there's this Women's Health and Wellness Expo that I want to do. I don't have a date. I don't have a location. I don't have anything right now except an idea. And she said yes, like immediately. And that was that. So this whole time, as I'm thinking, okay, I know this is what God wants me to do, but am I crazy for wanting to do this? Like, who am I to do this? Who am I to put this together? I know you guys have these thoughts as well. You start dealing with imposter syndrome, and then things from your past start coming up and making you think, oh, I can't do this. I have no business doing this. And well, at least that's what I did in my case. And I just started kind of just pushing the idea away and started focusing on other things. Life be life. And that's what happened. Life was life. And I was just like, okay, I'll just push it aside. I'll push it aside. I ended up writing out my goals for the year. And I was doing it based on, I think it's called the 3-month year. I think it's called, 3-month year. Someone had taught me about it last year, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it this year. And so that's what I did. So I put the Health and Wellness Expo on there, and I was like, okay, if this is something I'm supposed to do, it's gonna happen. Well, in December, I got asked if I wanted to participate in a market, which, I sell candles. It's also part of Devoted to Her. I sell women's health and wellness products, but the number one focus is all natural soy candles. So I got this email asking if I wanted to participate in a market. It would be the third Saturday of each month. And so I was like, oh my gosh, at the place that this market's supposed to be held at, because it's indoors, because we ain't trying to deal with the elements out here in Florida, because it's either hot or raining or hot and raining, and we ain't got time for that out here. And muggy, we're not going to forget about the humidity. We're just, So I was like, an indoor market. And then I looked at where it was at. I was like, I was just outside of this place. This is how amazing God is. A friend of mine had took me to dinner for my birthday last November. And while we went for a walk after dinner, we sat in this little park, and I'm staring at this building as she's talking to me. And I'm like, that building is really pretty. And I'm looking at the name of it. It's called Cohatch. I had no idea what Cohatch was. And I just kept telling myself, okay, I don't want to interrupt her talking, but I'm going to keep it in my mind. I need to Google what Cohatch is when I get home, because I've never heard of it before in the building. It's beautiful. And when I got home, I totally forgot to look this place up. I totally forgot. Well, God is so good, and this is how I knew it was God, because I got an email asking to be a part of this market, and it was actually going to be starting in January, and it's going to be based out of Cohatch. I said, now what are the odds? I immediately knew this was God. But I was still at the point where, like, I don't want to get my hopes up. So I go ahead, I fill out the application to be a vendor. A few weeks goes by, it gets approved, and I have my first market there in January of this year. So I'm just getting my feet wet. This is my first market with the candles in a very long time. I'd say probably a year, because I took a break. So it's probably about a year since I've done any pop-ups or anything. So I just wanted to see what it was like. It was a fantastic day. I was like, yeah, this was God. And I decided to keep doing it. So I signed up to do another like 6 months. Well, February comes around, and it's the third Saturday of the month. Remember that? And I start talking to the woman that's organized it. And I start talking to the manager of this particular location. And so basically Cohatch, it's a co-working space. Sorry, I left that part out. It's a co-working space, and they have them all across the country. They're absolutely beautiful buildings. They have amazing amenities, and it's just stunning. And I asked the manager, I said, hey, do I have to be a member here to have an event? And mind you, I had no idea this is what I was going in there with first thing in the mornings, and I had no intentions on asking anything. I just wanted to get to know the people that I was around. And so I told her exactly what it was that I wanted to do. I told her, my background, and she says, yeah. No, she says, no, you don't have to be a member. You just have to pay. She said, unless what you're doing is something that's beneficial to others and it's for the community and things like that. And I looked at her and I told her, well, I've really been wanting to do this event. I told her about the expo, the vision that God had put in my head. And she said, okay, let's do it. I said, I'm sorry, what? She's like, I love the idea. It would benefit the community. Absolutely, let's do it. You guys, I literally felt the presence of God to the point where I had to fight back tears. Now, this is the beginning of the day. This is before the market even started for the day. This is like, because we set up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So this is like, I just got done setting up my table and everything. So this is probably about 6:45, 7 a.m. And I'm trying to fight back tears. And so she's like, come in this week, we'll have a meeting, we'll set it up, I'll give you some people that I think would really like to be a part of this. So I said, okay. And we literally chose the day, which was May 11th, the day before Mother's Day. And she started giving me business cards of people that have worked out of Cohatch, or just she knew all the business owners in town. And so she's giving me business cards, she's giving me ideas of people to call. And when I tell you, I got so excited, but immediately started getting overwhelmed because I'm like, is this really what God wants me to do? Is that, or did I make this up on my own? But you guys, as things started falling into place, I realized, like, this has got to be God. This is no one but God. So I'm thinking in my mind, we're looking at the building. So here's the thing that I want to point out. The original building that I was thinking of doing this in, like I said, it was a small little venue. That's what I had in mind, was using this, and there's nothing wrong with it. It was perfect for my daughter's birthday party. But the one thing that I was trying to figure out is, okay, if I have it at this place, where's everyone gonna fit? I'd be limited on vendors. I would probably only be able to get like a handful of vendors in there and still have space for people to walk around and do stuff. You guys, I went from having a small vision in this tiny place to God giving me this massive building with not one but 2 floors. I got the first floor for all of the vendors, which I ended up with 18 vendors, and then the second floor where I was able to have food laid out for the guests and have guest speakers up there and plenty of seating for the people that were coming in. If that's not God, I don't know what is. You cannot tell me that God didn't have his hand all over this. And I want to pause here for a second and just touch on the fact that we can have an idea, and to us, we could be fearful, we could be in our heads not wanting to do it, or thinking that we're not good enough and that we can't accomplish this vision. And the whole time God is like, no, bigger, more. That's no. So we have to realize that we serve a mighty God, and we could be thinking so small and be scared of just the small thing that we're thinking. And meanwhile, God's like, oh my gosh, like he probably was looking down at me like, my poor baby, like, what is she doing? Like, I gave her this vision. Does she think that I'm not gonna help her walk it out? Because in my head, I was thinking small. And then certain things I was trying to do and certain people that I wanted to be a part of it were saying no. And I was like, Lord Jesus. But then I also had to change my mindset, because the great thing is in church, the series that we've been in is renewing our minds. And it's something that I've been working on for a long time. And I had to renew my mind. So instead of, woe is me, I want X, Y, and Z to be a part of this, and they said no, I had to flip it. And I was like, you know what, Lord, I did pray that if whomever is not supposed to be a part of this, let them not be a part of it. Let them not even show up. Only bring me who you want to be a part of this. I had to step back and just realize this is God. And not everyone's going to be able to see the vision the way that God gave it to me. And even once it was all said and done, some people didn't see the vision until it was complete. So again, I saw this small building thinking that'll be good enough for the first time. Next time we'll go bigger. But no, God was like, no, we're going to start big and get bigger, you know? And so it was very challenging for me to do this, because while doing it, you know, I still had things that I had to work through mentally. I needed to, because let me just say this, when you've been given a diagnosis such as cancer, not once, but twice, let's not forget that, it beats you up. It beats you up mentally. We're not going to talk about physically, because like the physical aspect of it, like I feel phenomenal. I finished chemo and radiation, oh my God, exactly 2 years ago, because the pictures were showing up on my phone. The memories were showing up as my friends and I celebrated. So yeah, 2 years ago, I feel phenomenal, but there's the mental aspect that I've spoken on in the past that still lingers, you know, And so there was a lot of things, and it wasn't just that, just different things that I've dealt with in my past and my childhood and so on and so forth, that I literally had to deal with, like, rejection and abandonment. Those issues, those things were trying to rear their ugly heads as I'm trying to plan this event. And again, the imposter syndrome, and who do you think you are to help these women, and I had to just keep giving it to God. And the beautiful thing is, God kept sending me people. And as I was getting together vendors, because at first the vendors started coming fast, and then it kind of stopped, and then they started trickling in, and then they came fast again. And so it got to the point where even up till 2 days before the event, I was turning people away. Like, people were still filling out the form and contacting me and calling people saying, hey, can you get in touch with the coordinator for me, because I want to be a part of this. I still had people asking to be speakers the day before the event. And so not only did I have what I needed, but I ended up with overflow. And that's another sign that God's hand was all over this. So while planning this event, I also had to continue my emotional healing process. And what I mean by that is, as I was meeting people while I was promoting the event and talking about the event, people started wanting me to do podcasts, interviews, and I thought that was great. But what ended up happening was, there's one in particular that I did, and if you have not seen it or heard it, it's Daughters of Christ Ministries. Amazing ministry with Pastor Sandra over there. So I ended up doing an interview with her. And I had no idea. I've done interviews before, but I had not spoken about everything that I had been through in my life. I never spoke about, like, in full, never spoken about the abuse that I endured with my older kid's father. I'd never spoke about, like, the mental and emotional abuse I went through with my younger kid's father, with my ex-husband, and the divorce and all that. These are things I had not spoken about in full, let's put it that way. I've touched on certain things, but this was the first time that I laid it all out. And that interview ended up being 2 hours, and it was so cathartic for me. And I felt like, if I'm going to be doing an event talking about healing and helping these women in their lives, then I need to get all of this out. I need to be at a point where I'm being transparent. And that's what ended up happening in that interview. And it is the best interview that I have done to date, because I laid it all out. And it was necessary. It was necessary. And once I did that, I was like, that was the hard part, I feel like, because then things started flowing and getting easier for me. And I just honestly, I felt God, but there were a few times where he was getting quiet on me, and I was like, Lord, come on now, come on. I need to know what's next. And I believe that in those times where I thought he was being quiet, he probably was still talking to me, but there was too much noise around. So at one point he called me to go on a fast, and I'm going to touch on that in probably in the next episode, after I'm done with this, because I do know this is going to be a 2-part episode. So when I'm done with these 2 parts, I'll dive into the fast, because I live a life of prayer and fasting, but what God called me to do was the Esther fast. And if anyone knows what that is, if you don't know what that is, I mean, it is a 3-day dry fast, no food, no water, 72 hours. And I realized that he was calling me to do it for a reason. But all that I was doing, planning this and everything, everything was go, to the point where my baby girl's like coming to me in the kitchen one day with a notebook talking about, I need to know your schedule because I need to plan a beach day and you've been so busy. And I kind of felt bad, but I also knew, like, this has to be done. And I knew she understood. And we live in Florida, the beach gonna be there, so. And I actually included all of my kids in this very important day. So I'll talk about that also. But with everything that I was doing, I couldn't forget who called me to do this event, right? So when God told me to do this fast, yeah, I was kicking and screaming at first, and I was like, I don't think this is what you're asking me to do, Lord. Like, I've been fasting, I just got off a fast. And he was like, no, you about to do this Esther fast, and that's that. You know, when the parent speaks, the parent speaks. Like, you got to obey, and that's what I did. So in the midst of all of this, I shut everything down for like 3 days. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't respond to anything. No emails, no nothing. I literally just, everything froze for 3 days. Everything. And once I came off that fast, it took me a good day or two to kind of bounce back, and because the way I explained, I was kind of like, my legs were wobbly. I felt like in Bambi, when Bambi's legs were wobbling, and that's how mine were for like 2 days. And I had to like get my strength back, right? And once I came off of that, I knew, I'm like, okay, God has me doing this for a reason. Let me just trust that I heard from God. He had me do this, and now let's get back to it. So once the 3-day fast was over, I went back to business as usual and just got back into planning mode. And at that point, I think I was 2 weeks out from the event itself. And let me tell you, in the 2 weeks leading up to the event, so many things were happening, you guys. So many. I'm gonna include pictures. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see the pictures. I'll probably even post them on social media, like to the point where things were going crazy in my house. I rent, and the toilet was messing up, the tub was messing up, everything was messing up. I was like, what is this? And so it turned out we needed the septic tank pumped, or so we thought, until after the septic tank was pumped, there were still issues, and they sent someone out and they said that we needed a septic drain field replaced or something. I was like, I don't know what that is. It can't be too bad. And then I heard the price tag. I said, glad I'm renting. And then the landlord didn't like that price. So he's like, I'm gonna get someone else out, but they can't come out till next week. I'm like, but my stuff is still messed up. Like, are you crazy? Whatever. And I was like, you know what? It's a distraction. So then while all that's going on, I go to work, and as soon as I pull into the parking lot, tire pops. I'm like, okay, now I need a new tire. It was just so many things going on, so many things going on. And I was really thinking like, okay, is this the enemy trying to upset me so I'll back off from doing this event? But then the more things that happen, I was like, even if it is the enemy, maybe he's going hard, because this is something that has to take place. So if the enemy's going hard, I gotta go hard and make this happen. And I'm gonna stop right there and end this first episode, this first half, and I will definitely come back and let you know the rest of what happened. But I just want to leave you with this from this first half. If God has called you to do something, baby, you need to do it. You need to do it. If God has called you to do something, then you need to do it, because it's for a reason. Most likely it has something to do with your calling, your purpose, however you want to look at it. And if he's called you to do it, he's going to make sure that you're provided with everything that you need. Also, no matter what you think he wants you to do, you could be thinking small, like I was thinking small, right? You could be thinking small. Just know that whatever it is that you have in your mind, whatever vision he gave you, it's probably going to be bigger than that. And just trust and believe. And I'm excited to tell you the second half of this story because it's been, from the time that I'm recording this, it's been a week since the event has happened, and I'm still blown away by what God did. All right, so that's the end of this episode. I hope that you share it with your friends, you share it on social media. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're listening to it on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, be sure to give me some stars. Can I get 5 stars? Can I get 5 stars? And that's it. Follow me on social media at Samantha Jade Minor, pretty much on Instagram, TikTok, all those things. And that's it. As always, take care of you. Bye.